Welcome to the Good Mood Show. I'm your host, Matt O'Neill. Be sure to hit subscribe so you get a good mood every single week. Today, we are talking with one of my all-time heroes, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time, and one of the most inspiring public speakers you will ever hear, Coach Lou Holtz. Coach, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you very much for having me, and I hope you feel as good after the show's over as you do before we do it.
I certainly will. And Coach, do you mind if I brag on you a little bit?
I, I can't control it's your show, but I tell you, I'm just a simple person and just tries to stay in the posse. But you go ahead.
Well, Coach Holtz is the only college football coach to lead 6 different programs to bowl games. And 4 of those programs ended in the top 20, which he's also the only coach who's ever been able to do that. His 1988 Notre Dame team went 12-0 and was the consensus national champion. He also earned National Coach of the Year following this 2000 season with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Their 8-win improvement from 1999 to 2000 is the 3rd best turnaround in the history of the NCAA. Very close to home. I live in South Carolina. I've had so many people reach out this week and say, man, you're talking to Coach Holtz. He is one of my favorite people. You've got a big following here in South Carolina, Coach.
Well, they're great people there. You have, I follow South Carolina very, very closely, and every place I've been, all we try to do, Matt, is just get our players to make good choices. That's all that life is. Wherever you are, good or bad, because of choices you made. And I made a good choice by going to South Carolina. I wasn't going to go, but the athletic director called me and said, you're threatening to throw us out of the SEC. Would you come and help us? And that's why I came back out of coaching to go to South Carolina. And I don't ever regret it. Wonderful people.
And you totally changed the program, like completely changed the program. And we're all appreciative of you doing that.
Thank you, Matt. As I say, you humble me. I'm just a simple person.
So your book, Winning Every Day, has been one of my favorite books. And what I love the most about you is that you live with integrity, you value character over winning, you value doing what's right even when it's not popular. And you're still continuing to act that way to this day. Also, you ran into my friend Eric Pointer at an airport one time, and you took the time to sit and have a long conversation with him about Holtz family values. And you told him that when each of your grandchildren was turning 18, the year before they went to college, they would come and stay with you and your wife so that you could counsel them on how to be a fine, upstanding adult. And man, that always stuck with me, just the way that you have held your head up high with high integrity and high character.
Well, Matt, there's so many things I wish to say. First of all, is just make good choices. That's all life is. You choose to do drugs, drop out of school, join a gang, get tattooed, you're going to have difficulty in life. And don't blame me. Those aren't the choice I made. Yes, we spent time with all of our grandchildren before they went to college. My wife and I decided the role that we had as grandparents was to educate all our grandchildren in college. Not to be there for every game or to dote on them or anything else. But if they're going away to college, I want them to understand what we stood for, what our values were, why we had those 3 rules. And it's just not complicated. I don't want them to become real liberal and forget about what made this country great. What made this country great was everybody making their own choices, how they're going to live, how they're going to make a living, and what they're going to do. The 3 rules that we had was rule number 1, do what's right. If you do what's right, you're going to build a trust. Rule number 2, do everything the best of your ability. Not everybody can be All-American, Matt. Not everybody can be first team. Not everybody can be an A student, but everybody can be the best they're capable of being. Rule number 3 is show people you care. And you're never going to meet anybody again that doesn't need a smile, a kind word, and encouragement. We all have difficulty. We all have problems. And so that's how I wanted to get across to our grandchildren, the legacy of our family, what we believe in and why we believe.
Those are, and you end your book with a chapter on each of those 3 three principles to live by. Do what's right. I started this company. I own a real estate company. And the first value, and the reason we put it first was it was most important, is integrity. And it's on the wall. It's on every single wall. It's behind me right now, on the wall here. It's on the wall in every room of the building, because there's a lot of chances where things look gray. But if you're guided by that first value, do the right thing, it becomes pretty black and white, what's right and what's not right.
Well, I agree with you completely, but why is it important to do what's right, Matt? Is so that people can trust you. If you don't have trust between two parties, you cannot have a relationship. If people don't trust you, you aren't going to sell anything. And it's just not that complicated. I also want to know this. I have never disciplined an athlete. People say, well, when you were at Notre Dame, getting ready to play Southern Cal, number one versus number two, you sent two of your best players home the morning of the game. That wasn't my choice. When you're at Arkansas, you suspended three players who scored 78% of our touchdowns for the year, and we're going to play Oklahoma, which was number one at the time we played them. But that wasn't my choice. All I ever do is enforce the choices you make. Now, same thing with my children. If you don't do your chores, you're going to spend Saturday night in. Now, that's your choice. Now, come Saturday night, why are you spending the night in? Oh, that was your choice. That wasn't a very smart choice. All your friends are out having a good time. And here you choose to stay in Saturday night. If we understand that life is a matter of choices, and we make the choice to do what's right because trust is critical. If the players didn't trust me and I couldn't trust them, we could not have a relationship. You can't have a relationship with your spouse if it's not based on trust.
I totally agree with you. And I just love the way that you have decided that you're going to teach life and not just teach football. What inspired you to decide that you were going to help others win at life instead of just caring so much about winning on the football field?
Well, you can make a lot of money and you can be successful, but when you die, that ends. More importantly, is to be significant. And significant is when you help other people be successful. And that lasts many a lifetime. That's why you understand what your role in coaching is to prepare them for life. Yes, we want to win the games, but the same thing that would make them a good football player or a good football team will be the same qualities that would enable them to be good husbands, good fathers, good businessmen. I think the most important role you have in life, or at least I did, was to be a good father and a good husband. I was married for 59 years, a beautiful woman, till she passed away. But you have to prepare them for life. And I just came back from Notre Dame. They were on our team at Notre Dame, and so many of the players come back. Three of the players that played for me are on the board of trustees of Notre Dame. That's not a small accomplishment. And you just look at it, and I just believe those three rules. Now, we talked about do what's right, then do your best, but show people you care. And the reason these rules are so important, you're never going to meet anybody again, Matt. Doesn't need a smile, a kind word, encouragement. We all have difficulties in this world. And my wife died with cancer, and she never did an interview except one. And we're at the University of South Carolina, and she did an interview because they were going to talk about cancer, not about coaching. And they said, Miss Holtz, what did you learn from having cancer? She said, I learned how much my family loved me. Well, man, we didn't love her anymore. We just showed it. And that's a problem. We don't reach out to people. We worry about our own problems. We don't come to realize that everybody you're going to meet has problems and difficulties, and the obligation we have to help one another. And I try to develop a love and a feeling on our football team for one another. And the greater the team, the more love and honor and respect on the team. I ended up every practice by saying, who's got a problem and how can we help? If somebody has a problem on this team, we're here to help you. Just tell us what the problem is. Somebody said, I got to move a couch, and three other players, hey, I'll come help you. That's how you build a winning team. That's how you build winning citizens.
I'm taking notes. People need to know how much you care. And
Abs-
and I loved what you said in your book. You said even the wealthy people, even somebody that looks like they have it all, they could use a smile and some words of encouragement. And that's not always easy to do when somebody's being pretty prideful and maybe putting other people down and acting like they're better than others. It's not easy to recognize that that person also needs our love and our care.
Well, I'm an old man. As I said, I'll be 87 in January, and my my birthday candles cost more than a cake. But everybody has a problem. One thing I've learned, no matter how old you get, you're never going to be without problems, without difficulties, without challenges. And the important thing is the attitude we have in encountering these challenges that come before us. So even today, you know, I've got some skeletal problems. It's hard for me to walk, but fortunately, I wasn't very alert growing up. So consequently, people can't tell when my mental capacity is diminished. But right now, I feel very, very blessed. And I had a on my golf cart and on my car, I have a bumper sticker, and it used to drive my wife crazy. We'd go to church, and she'd make me park in the back of the lot so nobody could see it. The bumper sticker said Jesus loves you. Everybody else thinks you're an asshole, but it's just the way she get mad. I thought it was funny but we all have problems, and reaching out and helping people is the greatest feeling in the world. And when you're down and depressed, go down and work at the homeless center. Go be
Yeah.
around. Go help somebody do something that they are capable of doing, whether it be with a financial donation or with a manual labor that you are able to provide. So it's that simple. That here's what I'd like your people to do. This how I know it. I have these three rules for our children. Take somebody you love and admire, and take somebody you got a problem with. It can be anybody in this world. Put these three questions on both of them. A simple yes or no. Could you trust them? Yes or no. Are they committed to excellence? Yes or no. They come here. Do they care about you and the organization? Yes or no. I guarantee you, to every one of your viewers, the person you admire and respect, you just said yes to all three questions.
Yep.
Person you got a problem with, you pinpointed a problem. You can't trust them. They aren't committed. They don't care. And when that's the case, you sit down with them and you say, I don't believe you're doing the best you can. And here's the reason why. You never attack the performer, but you need to attack the performance. And I understand that life changes. You know, when I was playing in high school, a few years later, our coaches were on Iwo Jima or somewhere. You know, they were tougher. Today, young people are different. If I was coaching today, I think I'd be as good a coach as I've ever been, but I'd approach it different. Young people today, what you say to them is important, Matt. But what you say to them is not near as important as your tone of voice. Your tone of voice is not near as important as your facial expression
Yeah.
because there's they're going to tune you out. They aren't going to pay any attention. But if you say, Jim, that was a dumb thing to do, you have no idea how mad I am, but you're going to find out. You got to treat him a little bit different. And you have to adjust in everything you do. But to me, trust, love, and commitment was the core of our football program.
And you lived it, and talk about, you were just talking about how we can go down to the homeless shelter and we can all give of ourselves. The most touching story I read about you, it actually got me a little choked up as I read it. In 1987, the Special Olympics came to Notre Dame, and you were the official hugger for lane 3.
Lane 3. I had lane 3. Whoever finished that race, first, last, or in between, my job was run up and hug them and say how much I was proud of them, etc. And it was one of the more worthwhile things that I did. There was a guy out of Minnesota by the name of Frank Jacobs who was very influential in the Special Olympics. And when it came to Notre Dame, I said, I want to volunteer. And the volunteer role they gave me was to be a hugger.
I love that. I'm just picturing you with these Special Olympic athletes coming across that line, and you just giving them all your love and care, every single one of them. It must have just lit you up.
So that's it may put life in proper perspective. Here are young people who have difficulties, have challenges ahead of them, but their attitude is so wonderful and upbeat. All they want to do is love and be loved. And that's the way most of us are, right? You'll never find anybody again that doesn't need that encouragement along the way.
You know, and you've coached a heck of a lot of great and talented football players. And I think one of the things I love that you said is that all of us can be a champion. Do you really believe that everyone has the ability to be a champion?
I think everybody has the ability to be best they can be. And what I felt was going into a game or anything, I don't have any regrets when this game is over. And if you could get your star players to genuinely care about the third teamer, we win the national championship in our day. We go to the White House, we come back on chartered plane. That same night, Bobby Satterfield died of a congenital heart defect. One in the afternoon, he's at the White House. It's the night he's dead. So I asked the school operator to have all the players report at 7:30. I wanted a team meeting before school because I wanted to share the news about Bobby Satterfield. He came in. I said, "Man, last night Bobby Satterfield died of a congenital heart defect." One player passed out. Almost everybody in that room cried real tears. And I tell you, if you're in that room, you couldn't tell if Bobby Satterfield was white or black. You couldn't tell if he's offense or defense, first team or third team, scholarship or walk on. You couldn't tell if he's from the East Coast or the West Coast. What you could tell was they lost a friend. Now, Bobby Satterfield was a black defensive back from Los Angeles, third team walk on. He wasn't a great player. I couldn't put on the film and say, "What's Bobby Satterfield?" But I did feel that every time he's in the game, we would win by 30, because if we weren't hit by 30, he wasn't in the game. So he wasn't a great player, but the players loved him because of his character, his integrity, the way he treated other people, and how hard he practiced. That's the whole thing. Everybody can be a champion in this respect. Number one, what is a champion? Champion isn't being the best. Champion is being the best you can be. And as I'd say to him, you can fool me. You can fool the officials. You can fool your teammates. You can fool TV. You can fool the people in the stands. But you can't fool yourself. When you put your head on that pillow tonight, you, and only you, know whether you did everything the best of your ability. Did you do everything you could to help your teammates? And I love the expression that said, if you didn't show up, who would miss you and why? If you didn't come to the game, would we miss you and why? If you didn't go home, would your family miss you? And if so, why? The two most important days of your life, one is the day you're born. The other day you discover why you're born. Basically, we discover we're born to help the people around us. Your attitude and your self-confidence will go up. It's when the selfish people worry just about themselves have real difficulty mentally. And that's one of the problems we have with our young people in this country today. I also believe in and have a strong faith in God. Now, that's my faith. That's my belief. What you believe, that's entirely up to you. You may or may not believe in God, but I do.
I sure
And
do.
yes, that because of that, it enables me to run my life and know that I have a purpose. My purpose is to help other people. Young people today, unfortunately, I think they've taken climate change and make it their religion. I know we have to do certain things. I'm not questioning that, but I just have a faith in God, and I don't preach it, but I hope the way I live my life reflects the faith I have in God.
Yeah, I sure do too. And I think that goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of this show, that doing what's right, it may, when you benched your star running back and your star wide receiver before that USC game, that wasn't in the best interest of winning the game, that particular game, most likely, but you were doing what was right for the long run. And I think that when we live our life, like you're suggesting, that maybe we could have cheated here, we could have lied there, we could have gotten ahead in the short run. But when you have a faith in God, you understand that you're only cheating yourself when you act that way.
No doubt. And I want to say this, you don't just make the decision say you can't play. But what you have to understand is they had been late most of the year. They were even late for our Thanksgiving dinner the day before. And I said to them, I should send you home. But that's unfair because the adverse publicity. But I want to tell you, if you're late one more time, your fault, my fault, bus driver's fault, heart attack. I don't care. You ain't playing. Well, the meal we had was on Friday before the game. That was the next day. They came 40 minutes late to the meal. And you don't tell people you're going to do something unless you honor it. That's all. And it wasn't punishment. We flew them out the morning of the game, put them on the airplane. They flew home. And when the airplane took off, I thought, Lou Holtz, that was a dumb thing to do. I should have put them on the bus. That take 45 4 hours. Should have taken them 4 days to get home. But you know what? It was in their best interest in the long run. We have rules and regulations. And don't have a rule or regulation. Don't tell somebody you're going to do something if you aren't honestly going to do it.
You know, we watched that Johnny Manziel documentary. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
My wife and I were watching, and he wasn't disciplined by anyone. And he was the best player in college football when he was at Texas A&M, and they just let him go crazy. And I thought, man, it would have served him really well if Lou Holtz had been his coach and had benched the best player in the country for showing up late to meetings or not watching film. Because once he got in the NFL, he didn't watch 1 minute of film, and he was cut by the Browns. And a very talented player now is no longer playing football.
Well, discipline, I feel, is not what you do to somebody. Discipline is what you do for somebody.
Right.
And we all learn that there's limitations of what we can do, what we can say, where we can go. And we have to learn to live within those limitations.
Yeah, and you could flip that quote around, and I know you have. Self-discipline is not something you do to yourself. It's something you do for yourself.
You're absolutely right. But the discipline has to be part of our life. And we have to teach our children the parameters of things they can do, what they can't do, and more importantly, teach them just basically how to make good choices in life. And that if you feel if somebody else called you to have difficulty or be in a certain situation, if you feel that society didn't treat you right and that's why you're in difficulty, then you're going to count on society to get you out of that situation. Once you realize wherever you are, good or bad, because the choices you made, then you and you alone will know I got to make better choices to get myself out of this situation. And if we would just stop and say, what is the right thing to do? Was that the best I could do? And do I show other people I care? You follow those 3 rules, you'll make good choices. I promise you.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things you said about a commitment to excellence was that if you have a true commitment to excellence, you'll never have a drug or alcohol problem.
Oh, no. See, people that resort to drugs, I will have an occasional drink, but I'm not an alcoholic. But what I'm proud of is my 9 grandchildren, my 4 children. I never had a drug problem. But drugs is when you have to rely on something else to make you feel good. When you take drugs, and the way it was explained to me, you take drugs, this is your normal status. You take drugs, you get up to here, and you feel great. But when you come back down, you come down lower. Then you take drugs, pretty soon you're taking drugs, just try to get back to the situation where you were before you ever took them. And I just, life's a matter of choices. And if you need drugs to help you get through the day, then you got some serious problem because you're making bad choices.
You know, I had a question for you. Did you really make a list of 108 wild and crazy dreams for your life?
Absolutely. See, you have to understand this, that when I grew up, my father had a third grade education. I was born during the Depression. There was no welfare, no food stamps, no safety net. I was born in a cellar. Uh, and I never had any goals. I never wanted to go to college. Nobody from our family had ever gone to college, let alone graduate. All I wanted was a car, a girl, a job, and $1,005. I never had any of them growing up. And my high school coach came up, told my parents I should go to college and be a coach. Well, I had no desire to do that, but I'd saved money to buy a 49 Chevrolet. My parents made me use that money to go to college. And that's how I ended up in college. And then all of a sudden, I get married. My wife's pregnant with our third child, Kevin, and I take a job in South Carolina. And I'm down there under a guy named Marvin Bass. We spent every cent we had to bank for a down payment on home. I'm there 1 month, and I pick up the paper Monday morning. The headlines: Marvin Bass resigns. I thought, wonder if he's related to my coach. Next thing you know, I'm unemployed. But they hired Paul Digital. I don't know him. I don't know anybody in South Carolina. I've only been there a couple of weeks. So all of a sudden, I'm not retained. It kept Johnny Menger, and it kept the tight end coach, Jimmy Vickers. I wasn't retained. So after my wife gave birth to Kevin, who's now a lawyer, I might add, she had to go to work as an X-ray technician, which was her chosen field, and I was a stay-at-home dad, and felt very defeated, very down, etc. And she bought me this little paperback book titled "The Magic of Thinking Big" by David Schwartz. Well,
I've read that.
okay, he talked about goals. I never had any, so I got out a paper and pencil and made 5 categories he asked me to make. Things I wanted to do as a husband and a father. The most important thing you can do as a father, make sure that you never say a negative word about your wife or to your wife in front of the children. I've never did anything but praise her. Now in the bedroom, that's different. Column number 2, things I wanted to accomplish financially and very poor. Column number 3 was things I wish to do professionally. I wanted to be a head coach. I wanted to coach a national championship. I wanted to, just go on and do those things. And then column number 5 was things I want to do for excitement. Here I am unemployed, and first thing I put down, I want to jump out of an airplane. I was an officer in the Army at Fort Benning. I'd watch them jump out of the airplane. Then I was at Fort Campbell at the 101st. Yeah, then I want to land on an aircraft carrier. Then I would go on a submarine. Want to be on the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. Want to go whitewater raft on the Snake River. Wanted to make a home run. I wanted to play the greatest golf course in the world. I wanted to go to the White House for dinner. Wanted to visit with the Pope. Wanted to go to Pamplona and run with the bulls with a slower person. And I had them.
With a slower person.
Oh yeah, definitely. I said, we're going to Waldo. She suggested I get a job. So that's how we made it 108. And that's how the original list came about. While being unemployed one day when the children were taking a nap and my wife was at work and feel defeated and low, you have to have goals and a purpose. So that's how that came about.
How many of those 108 did you achieve?
There were 108 on the original that we wanted. We achieved 102. And then the original list was destroyed at Notre Dame when they moved me from Minnesota. They put my boxes in a warehouse and it got flooded, etc. But I haven't landed. I haven't jumped out of an airplane. I've jumped out of an airplane. I have not flown on a B-17, which I wanted to do. I have not seen the pyramids. I have not run with the bulls, although my youngest son has done that. So things that were important for me to do, but weren't important for anybody else to do.
So you did just about all of those goals. You
did.
saw just about all of them.
Because see, you decide what you want to do, and you say, okay, what's important now? If you ask yourself, what's important now? This is what I want to do. What's important now to evaluate the past, focus on the future, but tell you what you have to do in the present. And one of the things we want to do is go white water rafting on the Snake River. Took our children and had professional guide, and I'm in this raft and about 15 minutes. And the guide said, Coach, you better buckle up because we're getting ready to go through Big Chief. Big Chief. I said, what's that? He said, that's the class 5 rapids. I said, I did class 5. He said, yeah. I said, give me an example of class 6. He said, Niagara Falls. So in that inner tube, we hit that rapids. My feet came up over my head. I came out of the raft about 3 seconds before my right thumb. I broke my right thumb in 4 different places, compressed fracture. And when I came up underneath the raft, right in the rapids. Now, they didn't teach me to hand walk my way out. So I went back down thinking the raft could do, but I'm going at the same rate of speed. I came up the second time under the raft. That's when I decided, winning the national championship wasn't that important. What was really important, get out from under the raft. It's amazing how I learned to hand walk my way out of that raft. Because what was important now? Get out from under the raft. Once you did that, get your head above water, get your feet ahead. So if you hit a rock or something like that, it's just common sense.
That's the WIN formula, WIN.
What's important now?
What's important now? Yeah. And I've got 4 children as well. And I have 3 young girls, and they were really into Anna and Elsa. And in the second movie, Anna's lost from everybody, and she's feeling all down and dejected, and she doesn't know what to do. And then she realizes, I just need to do the next right thing. And, that children's movie has guided me with that thought. What's the next right thing? What's important now? Get out from under this raft and take a breath.
What a great lesson that is. You just said life's there.
You end your book with a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes, which reads, I'll go ahead. I'll let you say the quote.
What lies behind us and what lies ahead of us is of little importance when it's compared to what lies within us. If trust, commitment, and love lies within us, we'll find a way to succeed.
Coach, this has just been such a blessing to have this conversation with you. Thank you for being my idol and my hero from afar and inspiring all the countless people that you've inspired in your lifetime.
Well, you humble me, but you need to have better role models. I'm just an individual trying to live those 3 rules. And obviously, you've made very good choices because you're ultra successful with your business and with your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Hey, appreciate you so much. And guys, we'll see you next week.
Okay.